I spiked the scotch of the man who ruined my life with a double dose of his own prescription meds, right there in the crystal decanter on his mahogany desk. Watching his eyes glaze over mid-sentence as he bragged about the deal he'd stolen from me. The boardroom erupted in laughter when they called me the coffee girl with delusions of grandeur, but I was the one who'd crunched the numbers that built their empire. Numbers they buried under my mentor's name while he took the credit and the corner office. And now, as the gavel fell on the merger I'd orchestrated from the shadows, sealing their fate in ink and betrayal, I leaned in close to whisper, "This isn't revenge. Gentlemen, it's just business," even though we all knew it was the sweetest poison I'd ever served. My name is Eliana Voss, and if you think climbing the corporate ladder in New York is a game of merit and handshakes, you're either naive or you've never stepped foot in a place like Sterling and Hale. It's a cutthroat jungle of glass towers and golden parachutes, where the air smells like overpriced cologne and desperation. I was 23 when I landed the internship there, fresh out of Columbia with an MBA that still smelled like printer ink and late-night ramen. They said it was the opportunity of a lifetime. Turns out, it was the setup for the heist of mine. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as things get in the mergers and acquisitions department. My boss, Harlan Graves, silver fox in his 50s, with a jawline sharper than his wit and a Rolodex thicker than his conscience, took me under his wing on day one. "Kid," he said, clapping a hand on my shoulder that lingered just a beat too long. "You've got fire in those eyes. Reminds me of me, back when I was hungry. I ate it up." Who wouldn't? Harlan was a legend at S&H. The guy who turned a sleepy consulting firm into a Wall Street behemoth by swallowing competitors whole. He assigned me to the Phoenix merger, the biggest deal of the quarter. A hostile takeover of a mid-tier tech startup that could catapult S&H into the AI game. I worked like a demon. Nights blurred into dawns in that fluorescent-lit cubicle farm, my fingers flying over spreadsheets while the rest of the team rotated happy hours at the Oak Room. I modeled the synergies, stress-tested the valuations, even flagged a hidden liability in Phoenix's IP portfolio that could have sunk the whole thing. Harlan would swing by at midnight, loosening his tie, pouring us both a finger of Macallan from his private stash. "You're a wizard, Eliana," he'd murmur, his breath warm against my ear. "Don't let these fossils dim your spark." There was a spark. All right, flirty glances. Accidental brushes. I told myself it was mentorship, ambition's haze. God, I was such a fool. 3 months in, the due diligence report landed on his desk. My name nowhere in sight. Harlan presented it to the partners like it was his brainchild, his baritone booming through the boardroom projector. "Gentlemen and Eliana, fetch us some waters while you're at it. This is the blueprint that'll make us kings." The room chuckled, a low rumble like thunder rolling in from Jersey. I stood there in my pencil skirt and sensible pumps, tray in hand, feeling the heat creep up my neck. Fetch waters? After I'd pulled 18-hour shifts to make that report sing? But I smiled, because that's what interns do. You nod and pour, and pretend the knife isn't twisting. The betrayal deepened that night. Harlan called me into his office after the meeting, the city lights sprawling like a diamond necklace below us. "Rough day, kiddo?" he asked, handing me a glass of that same scotch. I downed it, the burn steadying my nerves. "You use my work," I said flatly. "No accusation. Just fact." He leaned back in his leather throne, steepling his fingers. "And that's how it works here. You think I got this office by initialing memos?
Nah, Eliana.
You learn from the best by watching. Not stealing the spotlight. He slid a check across the desk, $5,000. Discretionary bonus. My tuition payment.
Take it.
Buy yourself something pretty. And keep grinding. This is just the beginning. I cashed it because bills don't care about pride. But something fractured that night. A hairline crack in the glass ceiling that widened with every snicker from the senior associates. They called me Harlan's shadow pup behind my back, whispered about how I must have earned those late nights on my knees. The rumors festered, toxic as the takeout coffee staining my desk. I doubled down, buried myself in the Phoenix files, vowing to prove them wrong. Little did I know, Harlan had bigger secrets than pilfered reports. Secrets that would drag me down with him. It came out in fragments, like a bad dream you piece together at dawn. First, the whispers. Harlan had been cooking the books for years, inflating SNH's quarterly earnings with off-balance sheet tricks that would have made Enron blush. Phoenix wasn't just a merger, it was his Hail Mary, a way to cash out big before the auditors caught wind. And me? I was the perfect patsy, the eager intern with the magic spreadsheets, the one who'd signed off on the due diligence without a second pair of eyes. He'd forged my electronic signature on the risk assessment, burying the red flags I'd flagged under layers of his own revisions. The night before the board vote, I found the email trail. Harlan's laptop, left open in the conference room after a strategy session that devolved into bourbon and backslaps. There was a chain from him to the Phoenix CEO, dangling bribes disguised as consulting fees. And attached, my report, doctored to greenlight the deal. CC'd to the compliance officer, with my name stamped as approver. My heart hammered like a jackhammer on asphalt. This wasn't theft, this was a frame job. If the merger went through and the feds came knocking, and they always did, I'd be the fall girl. Fresh meat for the SEC's grinder. I confronted him in the executive washroom, the marble echoing my fury. "You son of a bitch," I hissed, shoving the printout under his nose while he straightened his tie in the mirror. His reflection smirked back. Unflappable.
Ileana.
Sweetheart.
Calm down.
It's not personal. You're young. You bounce back.
Me?
I've got a family. Alimony payments. This is survival. Survival. As if screwing over the intern who'd idolized him was just another quarterly target. He turned, eyes softening into that mentor mask. Join me. We pull this off. I'll cut you in real money, not chump change. Partners, you and me. I wanted to believe him. God help me. The offer hung there, seductive as sin, promising the validation I'd craved since my dad walked out, leaving Mom to sling coffee in Queens. But as I stared into those calculating eyes, I saw the truth. Harlan Graves wasn't a mentor. He was a parasite, latching onto ambition like mine to feed his own decay. I walked out without a word, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. That's when the revenge took root, not a wildfire, but a slow smolder, the kind that levels forests. The next weeks were a masterclass in shadows. I played the part, the dutiful intern, fetching lattes with a smile, nodding through meetings where they patted Harlan on the back for his genius. But under the desk, my fingers danced on a burner laptop, siphoning data from the shared drive. I documented everything, the forged SIGs, the bribe emails, the shell companies Harlan funneled cash through. Not to blow the whistle. Not yet. No. This was personal. I wanted him to taste the height of victory before I yanked the rug. And then, The twist that nearly broke me. Turns out, Harlan's wife, Victoria, ice queen of the Upper East Side, with her Chanel suits and charity galas, knew about the affair. Not ours, but his string of them. Interns and admins like breadcrumbs leading back to his ego. She'd hired a PI, and the dossier landed in my inbox anonymously one rainy Tuesday. Photos of Harlan tangled in hotel sheets. Alibis that matched my late nights. She thought I was one of them. The message was simple. End it, or we both burn. Betrayal on betrayal. I wasn't just collateral, I was the villain in her script. But Victoria?
She was no saint.
Digging deeper, I uncovered her own skeletons, laundering Harlan's dirty money through her nonprofit for at-risk youth. The one splashed across society pages. They were two vipers coiled together. And I'd been a mouse in the nest. The board vote loomed. Phoenix's fate, and mine, hanging by a thread. I had the ammo to torch it all. But timing is everything in revenge. I scheduled a courtesy call with the Phoenix CEO, posing as Harlan's envoy. There's a glitch in the matrix, I said coolly over the line, voice steady as steel. Walk away now, or we all drown. He laughed, nervous, disbelieving, until I leaked a teaser of the bribes. By dawn, Phoenix had lawyered up, pulling the plug. SNH reeled. Harlan's face on the trading floor feed was priceless, pale as printer paper, barking orders at ghosts. The partners circled like sharks, smelling blood. They blamed the junior team oversight, code for me. But I was already gone, slipping out with a resignation email that read like a haiku of indifference. Pursuing other opportunities. Yeah, the opportunity to watch it burn from afar. That's when I went underground. Not quitting the game, but rewriting the rules. I crashed on a friend's couch in Brooklyn, pounding pavement for freelance gigs while nursing my vendetta like a fine wine. Harlan thought he'd won when SNH spun the collapse as strategic recalibration, promoting him to interim CEO as a SOP. But I knew better. The feds were circling. Anonymous tips I'd planted blooming like weeds. And Victoria? She filed for divorce the day the story hit page 6, citing irreconcilable differences and a prenup that'd leave Harlan in the gutter. Revenge isn't a sprint. It's a marathon with pit stops at therapy and takeout Thai. I rebuilt in the ashes, networking at alumni mixers. Cold emailing VCs with a pitch deck that echoed Phoenix's bones, but cleaned up. Vanguard Acquisitions, my one-woman show, scraping by on micro deals for startups too small for the big boys. It was gritty, unglamorous, the kind of hustle that leaves calluses on your soul. But every invoice stamped felt like a middle finger to that boardroom laughter. 6 months later, the call came. A headhunter from Apex Capital, poaching talent for their next mega merger. Orion Tech, a behemoth in biotech that'd make Phoenix look like a lemonade stand. Heard about your work on Phoenix, the voice purred. Unconventional, but effective. We need someone with your
Edge. Edge.
That's code for ruthless enough to win dirty. I took the job. 6 figures and a corner cubicle, irony's sharpest blade. Apex was a different beast, flashier, hungrier, with offices in Midtown that screamed new money.
My boss,
Derek Langford, was Harlan 2.0 but with better hair, charming, cutthroat, always one step ahead of the ethics committee. He eyed me like fresh meat on day one. Eliana Voss, the intern who tanked Phoenix? Love a girl with guts. Word traveled fast in our echo chamber. I smiled, filed it away. This time, I wouldn't be the shadow. I'd be the storm. The Orion deal was biblical. Billions on the line. Egos clashing like titans. I dove in, leading the valuation team. My fingerprints all over the term sheet. Derek leaned on me hard. Late nights turning into strategy sessions laced with innuendo. You're wasted on spreadsheets.
Él.
Ever think about partnering up? Off the books. Déjà vu. Bitter as bile. But I played along, feeding him just enough to keep him hooked, while quietly courting Orion's founder, a sharp-witted widow named Lena who'd built her empire from a garage in Silicon Valley. Lena saw through the corporate BS like glass. Over Zoom calls from her Palo Alto ranch, she'd sip Cabernet and grill me. What's your angle?
Eliana.
Everyone's got one. I told her the truth. Or enough of it. The betrayal. The frame-up. How I'd learned that trust is a luxury in this game. She nodded, eyes crinkling. Sounds like my ex. Built me up, then burned it down for stock options. Welcome to the club. We bonded over war stories. Her loss mirroring mine. A husband who'd faked his death to start over with a younger model, leaving her to pick up the pieces. Revenge, she asked one night, voice low. Or justice. I didn't answer. The line's blurry when you're holding the knife. As the merger talks heated, cracks appeared. Derek was pulling Harlan's playbook, slipping side deals to Orion's board, promising kickbacks to sway votes. I caught wind via Mole and Legal, a junior associate I'd mentored over bad coffee. He's dirty.
Eliana.
And he's using your models to cover it. Rage simmered. But I channeled it. Anonymous leaks to Orion's counsel highlighting the discrepancies. Derek noticed the pushback, cornering me in the elevator one Friday. You stirring the pot. Voss thought we were a team. His hand on my arm, grip like a vice. I twisted free, eyes locked. Teams win together. Derek. Or they don't. The boardroom showdown was electric. Air thick with cologne and concealed daggers. Orion's execs filed in. Lena at the helm. Her presence commanding as a queen's. Derek launched into his pitch. Slides gleaming with my data, twisted. Of course. To hide the rot. I sat silent. The support staff. Until the Q&A. Then, cool as a winter wind off the Hudson, I stood. One correction. Mr. Langford. The IP valuation. It's off by 15%. Here's why. I projected the real numbers. The ones I'd shielded. Red flags waving like surrender flags. Chaos erupted. Accusations flew. Fraud.
Sabotage.
That intern's got an axe to grind. Derek's face purpled, pointing at me like I'd sprouted horns. She's unreliable. Fired her ass at S&H for cause.
Lies.
Of course. But they stuck. The room fracturing into camps. Lena watched, unblinking, then dropped the bomb. Apex's proposal is declined. But MS. Voss, we've got an opening at Orion. Lead integration. If you're game. The walkout was a blur, suits scattering. Derek's curses chasing me down the hall. I didn't look back. That night, over Victory Sake in a dim Nolita spot, Lena raised her glass to axes well-grounded. But as the buzz faded, doubt crept in. Was this justice? Or just my ego's echo? Harlan called the next day, voice oily through voicemail. Heard about Orion. Congrats.
Kid.
But watch your back. Old friends have long memories.
Friends.
The word curdled. Orion Tech wasn't a company. It was a fortress, perched on the edge of the Bay Area like a sentinel guarding the future. I relocated west on Lena's dime. First-class flight. A loft in Soma, with views of the fog rolling in like secrets. No more intern crashes. This was executive life. With a corner office and an assistant named Raj who anticipated my coffee order. But the high came laced with paranoia. Harlan's voicemail looped in my head. A ghost in the machine. Was he bluffing? Or did he have cards up his sleeve? Lena integrated me fast, handing the reins to the post-merger cleanup. Orion had swallowed a smaller firm, Bioforge, in a deal that mirrored Phoenix but cleaner, no bribes. Just brutal efficiency. My job: streamline ops, cut redundancies, make the numbers sing for Wall Street. It was heady. Wielding that power, layoffs signed off with a flourish. Suppliers swapped for cheaper bids. Raj called me the velvet hammer behind my back, half admiring, half wary. I felt it too. The moral slip. Faces I'd greenlit for cuts haunted my dreams. Middle-aged chemists with mortgages and kids' braces. But revenge doesn't pause for ethics. Derek sued Apex for breach of fiduciary whatever, dragging my name through the tabloids. Intern trader sabotages $2 billion deal. The New York Post ran a sidebar on SNH's Phoenix fallout, dredging up Harlan's resignation. Read, golden exit under NDA. Victoria piled on, her divorce lawyers subpoenaing me as a witness to his predatory pattern.
Predatory.
The word stung, forcing me to confront the blurred lines of those Scotch nights. Had I been complicit? Mistaking ambition for affection? I lawyered up, countersuing for defamation.
But it was Lena who shielded me.
Smokescreen, she said over lunch at her ranch. Horses nickering in the distance. Harlan's desperate, SEC's sniffing his old deals, thanks to tips from,
well,
let's say concerned parties. She winked, but her eyes were steel. Turns out, Lena had her own network. Ex-spouses and jilted lovers who'd formed an informal syndicate. The Burned Club, she called it half-jokingly. We share war stories, war rooms. Your Phoenix saga? Inspired a few. Inspired. The word twisted like a knife. My pain, commodified into cocktail chatter. But it bought me allies, insiders at SNH leaking Harlan's crumbling facade, embezzlement probes, mistresses going public. I watched from afar, curating a digital scrapbook of his downfall, each headline a bomb. Yet doubt not. Was I any better? Orchestrating from my glass eyrie while others bled? The real fracture hit during Bioforge integration. One layoff list included Dr. Miriam Hale, no relation to Harlan. Just cruel coincidence, a lead researcher whose work on neural implants had birthed Orion's crown jewel. She'd mentored me virtually during my Columbia days, emailing encouragement when imposter syndrome hit. Firing her felt like self-sabotage, but the numbers demanded it. I called her personally, voice cracking over the line.
Ileana?
My star pupil? Her laugh was bitter fog. Tell me it's not you wielding the axe.
It was.
And as she packed her lab coat, whispering about whistleblowing on Orion's shortcuts, I saw my reflection, Harlan's echo, cutting to climb. That night, alone in the loft, I cracked. Therapy via Zoom with a shrink in Brooklyn, the one who'd patched me post-Phoenix. Revenge cycle, she said, clinical as a scalpel. You're not healing, you're perpetuating. Bullshit, I thought, but it stuck. Lena noticed the wobble. pulling me aside at a team offsite in Napa, vineyards rolling like green waves. Air thick with Merlot and regret. "Spill," she commanded, handing me a glass. I did. The guilt. The ghosts. How every wind tasted like ash. She listened, then leaned in, voice low. "I get it. My ex, I didn't just divorce him. I gutted his startup, poached his board. Felt like justice then.
Now?
My daughter's estranged, thinks I'm a monster. Her daughter, the one who'd OD'd last year, blaming Lena's workaholic poison. The confession hung, raw as an open vein. For the first time, I saw Lena not as mentor, but mirror. Two women forged in fire, wielding flames that scorched our own hands. But mercy's a luxury in this league. Harlan struck back, allying with Derek in a shadow bid to acquire Orion outright. Whispers hit the wires, a consortium of jilted players, funded by Victoria's divorce settlement, circling like vultures. They poached Bioforge's remnants, offering Miriam triple to spill Orion's beans, shortcuts I'd overlooked in the rush. Like untested trials that could have FDA'd us into oblivion. The stock dipped 8%, boardroom panic setting in. Lena called an emergency war council. Me at the table with the brass. "That's Voss's mess," one VP snarled. A paunchy relic named Caldwell. Her integration greenlit the risks. Fingers pointed. Old wounds reopening. I defended. But Lena cut through. "Enough.
Ileana.
Fix it. Or we all sink. Fix it." Like I hadn't already. Sleepless nights poring over patents. I unearthed the real bomb. Harlan's consortium wasn't just buying, they were blackmailing. Armed with my old Phoenix files, the ones I'd leaked to Phoenix. Now twisted into proof of my pattern of sabotage. Cornered. I flipped the script. Reached out to Miriam via a burner app. Not as boss, but supplicant. "Help me," I typed, attaching the consortium docs. "Not for Orion. For us, the burned ones." She bit. Her intel cracking their facade, Victoria's money trail leading to tax havens, Derek's insider trades. We fed it to the journal anonymously, timed for market open. Stocks rebounded. Harlan's bid crumbled like dry rot. Victory lap was bittersweet. Lena promoted me to SVP. Toasts at the French Laundry, with crystal clinking like chimes. But as champagne fizzed, my phone buzzed, unknown number. Harlan's voice, slurred and spectral. "You think you're done with me?
Ileana.
I made you. Without my shadow, you're nothing."
Click.
He was wrong, I was everything now. But the call lingered, a chill in the California sun. Months blurred into a rhythm, deals closing, accolades piling, therapy sessions dissecting the scars. I dated a tech bro named Theo. Easy laughs over tacos in the Mission. Normalcy, or its illusion. Lena became family, her ranch a refuge for holidays, her stories of loss weaving with mine. "We're survivors," she'd say, clinking bottles by the fire. Survivors.
Yeah.
But at what cost? The cost came calling in a FedEx envelope. No return address. Photos of Theo and me. Time-stamped from dives in Oakland. Stalker shit. Harlan's vintage. I upped security. Told Lena. She nodded grimly. Endgame time. I've got a play. Her play, a sting. Luring Harlan to a reconciliation summit in neutral Vegas. Under truce flags. "You in?" she asked. Hell yes. But as flight wheels touched tarmac, doubt roared louder than the engines. Was this closure? Or just another betrayal in disguise? Vegas glittered like fool's gold, the Bellagio suite a palace of excess. Harlan arrived solo, paunchier, eyes hollowed by probes and payouts. We met in a private lounge, Lena and I flanking the table like bookends. Truce, he offered, extending a hand ringed with a new, cheaper watch. I ignored it. Confess, I said flatly. The frames, the steals. On tape, he laughed, a bark devoid of mirth. Or what? You tank another deal?
Kid.
You're playing checkers. This is chess. Lena slid the dossier, his full ledger, pieced from Miriam's drops and my hacks. Checkmate, she murmured. Harlan's facade cracked, shoulders slumping.
Fine.
It was me. All of it. But, Eliana, you were complicit. Those nights. The bonuses. You wanted it. The room spun. Complicit. The word I'd buried, now exhumed. We had him on tape. Enough for indictments. But as he spilled, tears mixing with sweat, I saw the man beneath, a divorce hollowed by Victoria's venom. Kids who wouldn't call. A career built on sand. We let him walk. Tape in pocket. Mercy? Lena asked later. Over blackjack and bourbon. Or strategy? Both. I admitted. The feds got the copy next day. Anonymous. Harlan pled out. 5 years, white collar. Community service in the Hamptons. Victoria scattered to Europe. Her charities shuttered. Derek?
Disbarred.
Last seen hawking real estate in Florida. Orion soared. My stock options vesting like manna. Theo proposed on a hike in Big Sur. Ring glinting against the Pacific. I said yes, picturing picket fences and 2.5 kids. But in quiet moments, the hook lingered, that spiked scotch I'd imagined, the revenge I'd tasted but never fully swallowed. Was it enough? The wedding was a blur of white lace and Napa vines. Theo's grin wide as the horizon, Lena toasting us with tears in her eyes. To new beginnings, she said, and the guests, Orion execs, Columbia alums. Raj, with his awkward dance moves, cheered like it was the merger of the century. It felt like 1.
2.
Eliana Voss.
SVP.
Soon-to-be Voss Harrington. Trading boardrooms for board books on baby names. Domestic bliss. The kind mom would have killed for back in Queens. But bliss has teeth. 2 months post-vows. The stick turned pink.
Pregnant.
Joy hit like a freight train. Mingled with terror, morning sickness in the boardroom. Equity dreams clashing with midnight cravings. Theo was a rock, rubbing my feet while I fretted valuations. Lena promoted me to EVP, remote friendly, whispering, motherhood's the ultimate power move.
Power.
Yeah, but power shifts sands. The shift came subtle. A memo from Caldwell, the VP who'd eyed me warily post-Bioforge. Streamlining leadership, it read, folding my team into his. Demotion by euphemism. My office swapped for a collaborative space. Lena was traveling. In Tokyo sealing a Japan JV. So I confronted him solo. This is bullshit.
Caldwell.
My metrics are gold. He leaned back, smug as a cat with cream. Metrics don't build trust.
Eliana.
And after Harlan.
Well.
Whispers linger. Whispers. Harlan's ghost.
Exhumed.
Turns out, in his plea deal, he'd named names, not mine, but enough to taint the well. Unreliable associates, the filings called us. A broad brush that painted me rogue. Investors jittered.
Stock wobbling. Caldwell.
Smelling blood. Had lobbied the board. Voss is a liability. Too much baggage for the C-suite. Lena returned fire via email. Hands off my girl, but damage done. I was sidelined. Pregnant belly, a convenient shield for their swords. Rage. Old friend. Board back. Not the smoldering kind, but wildfire fueled by hormones. History. The injustice of it all. I hired a PI. The same one Victoria had used. Ironies full circle. Digs on Caldwell unearthed gems. Affairs with juniors. Padded expense reports. A gambling habit that'd make Harlan blush. But the real vein? His ties to the consortium, ghost funding from Victoria's offshore slush. Funneled to undermine Orion from within. The board meeting was D-Day. Hybrid from my home office. Bump under a crisp blouse. Caldwell presented reorg rationale, slides glossing my contributions while burying the knife. I waited. Breath steady. Then unmuted. Gentleman and Lena one addendum. Shared screen. Caldwell's ledger. Trails leading to Harlan's old shells. Gasps rippled. Virtual and visceral. Sabotage, I said coolly. From the man pitching cuts. Chaos. Accusations. Adjournments. Caldwell frog-marched by security. Lena called postmortem. Voice thunder. You magnificent bitch. Board vote. Your interim CEO. Make it permanent.
CEO.
The word echoed. Hollow at first, then thunderous. But as confetti fell in emails, Theo found me crying in the nursery to be. Babe, we won. Won. At what price? Caldwell's family, wife. Teens, splintered by the headlines. His suicide note. Leaked to the press. Betrayed by the machine I fed.
Betrayed.
My own word. Weaponized. The twist hit like vertigo. Digging deeper for the board's full disclosure, my PI uncovered Lena's hand. Not just in the burn club, but architect. She'd fed me Harlan's crumbs. Orchestrated the Orion poach. Even the pregnancy congrats masking her pivot.
Why?
Orion's board had pressured her. Too old. Too female. Time for fresh blood.
Me.
The protege. Ripe for grooming into puppet. The dossier. Emails plotting my rise. My flaws amplified to justify the crown. Eliana's fire will burn bright, one read. And blind her to the strings. Strings. I confronted her at the ranch. Belly leading like a battering ram. You played me, I accused. Voice breaking. She didn't deny. Pouring tea with steady hands. Not played, prepared. This industry's a viper pit. Eli. I gave you fangs.
Fangs.
Or chains. We argued, till dusk. Her defending the necessary cuts, me hurling the mirror. Like you cut your daughter?
Or me.
Post-Phoenix. She winced. The queen cracked. I lost her to save the empire. You'll lose too. If you don't harden. Harden. The word festered. As CEO, I wielded it. Audits gutting old guard. Mergers that swallowed souls. Theo noticed the chill. Our bed a battlefield of unspoken resentments. You're becoming them, he said one night. After I nixed a rival's bid with a smirk.
Them.
Harlan. Lena. The laughter in that boardroom. The baby kicked. A reminder of stakes beyond stock ticks. The climax brewed in a cross-country showdown. SNH's remnants. Harlan out but his shadow long. Proposing a legacy merger with Orion. Billions. Egos. The circle closing. I flew east. 9 months swollen. Theo in tow for moral support. The table. Ghosts. Derek's proxy. Victoria's lawyers. Even Miriam as consultant. Her eyes wary. Harlan wasn't there, but his echo boomed via video link from Club Fed. Eliana, he croaked, pixelated and penitent. Proud of you.
Kid.
Let's bury the hatchet in profit. The room polarized. Old guard for the deal. Stability over grudges, my allies. The burned ones. Against. Don't feed the beast. Lena. Advisory now. Whispered. Take it. Secure your legacy. But as terms scrolled, kickbacks veiled. My name on the dotted line as approver, I saw the frame anew. Sign. And I'd be them. Betrayer. Builder on bones. I stood. Water breaking in a warm gush. Timing's cruel comedy. No deal, I gasped, amid the frenzy of calls to 911. This merger dies with the old guard. Chaos. Ambulances wailing. Lawyers scrambling. Harlan's feed cutting to static. Theo held my hand through labor in a Manhattan suite turned delivery room, our daughter arriving with a cry that drowned the sirens. Epilogues gray. Orion stabilized without the merger. My CEO perch wobbling, but held. Lena retired to the ranch. Letters arriving, apologies, not regrets. Harlan passed in custody. Heart attack, they said. But whispers of assisted. I didn't pull the trigger. But the Burn Club? Their reach is long.
Now.
Rocking Eliza in the Soma loft. City lights mocking my victory. I wonder, hero or villain? The revenge that crowned me queen left a throne of thorns, Theo's distance growing. Mom's proud calls lace with worry. Miriam's email, you saved me once. Who saves you? No one's clean, we're all stained glass. Cracking under light. They laughed at the intern. I ran the merger. But as Eliza's fist curls around my finger, tiny and trusting, I question the cost. Was it worth the blood on the boardroom floor? Debated over drinks. Friends, right? Wrong. Or just the American way. Win ugly, love fiercely, regret eternally.